Hey there, church. If you are like me, you are really enjoying the signs of spring. I have one of them right over my shoulder. The shoots that come up this time of year on evergreen trees, they're a bright and pale green compared to the rest of the deep, rich green that has been coming out of the tree for a longer amount of time. It's a sign that the tree is alive and budding new things. And so this time of the year, if you're like me, you think about, well, what about me? What kinds of new things am I budding in my life? And I think about the church. What is God budding as new growth, new energy, new aliveness in the church? And I want to tell you one thing that I think God is doing. We had a committee of the church, the group formation committee, go on a part-day retreat last weekend. And one of the questions they asked was, what do we see God doing? How do we hear God inviting us to a fresh desire and to participation in what God is doing? And one of the things they said is that they think God is teaching us to listen. And I really think that is true. We've been incorporating more listening into our worship service with the silence after the psalm reading, listening to that word or phrase that invites us to join in the prayer of Jesus for us and for the world. We have been undertaking courses like the Lectio course that is all about listening for the voice of Christ in Scripture. You may be listening to Strider right now, who's saying, okay, Dad, stop recording that video, it's time to keep walking. But there's also this sense that we are learning to listen to our community more. The session a couple months ago, actually, committed to undertake a process that we began in our renewal effort about 6 years ago and never really did the job of it that we might have. What we were going to do is to listen to people in our community, people who are outside the church, but may be very connected to the community and have angles of vision for the good things that are happening in the church, vision for how the community has changed in the past number of years. A sense, maybe better than we do, of what kinds of changes are coming to the community in the next 5 or 10 years. So the idea is that we listen to others in our community for where the struggles are, where people are doing the kinds of work that to us is the stuff of God's kingdom. And partly this is just to understand our neighbors and to be able to have a heart for our neighbors in what our community is living with. But it's also to ask, okay, God, you have put us in this place and we are in this time. And so how are we being invited to join the work of the Spirit of the risen Christ, who doesn't only live in the church, but lives out in all spaces of the world and is at work in parts of our community that we may not even know about, except that we listen to others who are seeing things that God has yet to show us. So I invite you, I encourage you to take part in this effort, and we're going to have a training day to help us to feel equipped and a little more confident to go out and talk to someone in our community. Maybe it's a teacher you know, or someone in school administration. Maybe it's a first responder you know, or someone you're connected to that has a job where they interact with folks that are going through hard times. Maybe it's a business leader who sees how the business climate of the world has changed recently. The idea is that we love by listening. And listening to our neighbors is a way of starting to love them better with God's kind of love. So let's continue to be a church that's about loving God, sharing relationships, serving others from the heart of Christ. And don't we know that one of the best ways we can love someone is by listening to them?